it couldn't have been more wide open. But he didn't see it and just kept running into the backs of his blockers and the faces of the defenders and went nowhere. And it wasn't even a difficult cutback to make. If you saw it, you could just run right into the lane. It wasn't like you had to make a couple guys miss and get to the outside. No, it's right there. You just need to look 25 degrees to your left instead of, tunnel visioning, straight in front of you. And that's all you're looking at. So the vision, there were definitely some errors on that part. And then ball security, every time he's running with the ball, he's in danger of fumbling it, he's bobbling it, it's getting loose. It didn't cost us anything ultimately. But it's going to, because it continues to be an issue. He continues to not be able to hold on to that football for some reason. So that's what I'm concerned about with AP more than anything. Figure out how the heck to run with that dang football and hold on to it at the same time, And then, once you got that figured out, then you just come talk to me. We'll hang out a little bit. We'll work on the vision. We'll take like half an hour, maybe an hour, watch a little bit of film, and boom, you'll have learned more from me in that 60 minutes of watching film than, your collective NFL coaching experience combined, probably. Or not. But anyway, so AP was up and down, but the point being on AP, and then we'll move on quick to other players, hopefully other topics, is that a lot of people here in Minnesota are fussing and trying to invent and imagine this thing that's not there, that AP has lost it, that the reason he's not putting up big numbers and being, overly successful is because he's lost a step. He's not as fast, he's not as quick, he's not as strong. None of that is true. If you watch every play on the film of every game so far this year, which I have done, okay? And the people complaining about this most likely haven't. If you just do that, you would notice, and you're smart and know what to look for and how to interpret the data, how to do the analysis. Adrian Peterson is not lacking in any speed, quickness, explosiveness, strength, agility, nothing. None of that. Not at all. It's completely non-existent. That being a problem or an issue for him. So don't be one of those idiots who thinks it is, and don't listen to the idiots who thinks it is, because they're wrong. Plain and simple. All right, rest of the offense, just pointing out a few notables. Mike Wallace played like garbage. Nothing but minuses. Stephon Diggs, second week in a row, played out of his mind. I said when we drafted the kid, I said in the preseason, I said at the beginning of the regular season, this is the guy, okay? He's number 3 or 4 out of the gates. And then as soon as Charles Johnson or Mike Wallace goes down, those are my exact words, by the way, preseason football and NFL extravaganza preview. My exact words. As soon as Charles Johnson or Mike Wallace go down with an injury, likely, somewhere around week 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, middle part of the season, early middle part of the season, that Stephon Diggs will be your number 2 receiver, because it's not Jarius Wright. He's strictly a slot guy. It's not Thielen, and it's not Patterson. Diggs is the guy. He's shown everything already. Boom. And they didn't even suit him up for the first several weeks. And I'm just sitting there going, what a bunch of morons. Johnson ain't doing nothing. Wallace ain't doing nothing. Wright ain't doing nothing. Why don't you have, this guy's your 4th best receiver, and you're fielding 6 receivers. Why isn't he out there? Why isn't he suited up? He's healthy. He knows what to do, for the most part at least. But so for the second week in a row, he's playing out of his mind, and I think really playing maybe with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder from not even being asked to suit up and be a part of the team those first couple weeks. Which, hey, whatever, man. It's working. So keep doing whatever it is, because it's working. Jarius Wright also had a few really nice plays and a decent impact on the game. Matt Khalil did not play very well, although he played better than last week. Last week he had 3 minuses and a penalty. This week I only had him down for 1 minus, maybe 2. Fusco played like garbage again. Only 1 plus to a minimum of 3 minuses. Berger just had 1 penalty. Other than that, played fairly well. Harris only had 1 minus, played fairly well. And TJ had a penalty and 1 minus. So, again, the offensive line as a whole played pretty good throughout that entire Kansas City game. Fusco was really the only individual on that group not having a good day overall. And then finally, of course, the man, Teddy, who there's times when he's really efficient and looks good and is just doing the job, and it's working. And then there's so many other times when he's just doesn't mentally have a clue out there. Pretty much every interception he's had has been on him this year. And I would say at least 75% of the times he's been sacked have been on him this year. And I would argue that 90% of his incompletions are on him this year. There was an easy completion to be had, and he can't read coverage once he snaps the ball. He's so terrible at looking off of the primary read and going to the second one and then the third one and then your final check down. He goes from 1 and stays on 1 and stays on 1, and everywhere once in a while he'll give up on 1 and go to 4. He will never go across the field. He just stares guys down there. Oh my God! Every incompletion of Teddy, just rewatch him sometime. Like, just rewind it and watch it and pause it. As he's set up and about to throw. Every time there's a guy open that he could throw it to that's either in the middle of the field or the other side of the field, and he's just not looking at them. And he does it over and over every game. Where he looks good is when he's able to throw the ball with accuracy, which is hit and miss. That ball just still continues to sail on him. I think the gloves and the terrible pro day were, a little bit of a tell on that this guy is not and will never be an accurate passer, and he needs to basically, borderline cheat by wearing specially designed gloves to help him, throw a ball accurately. Come on, dude. I can throw a football accurately. Let's go. I'll come out to the backyard sometime. I'll teach you how to do it without gloves on. There's nothing to it. But so point being, Teddy continued to make the same mistakes that he has made every game this year. Inaccurate, inconsistent with his accuracy, throwing the football, and not making the right decisions during the course of the play. So where we're at with Teddy is it's really frustrating, because I don't believe he's regressed. Okay, I've heard people say that he's regressing, and I was feeling like he might be regressing after watching this last week's tape, rewatching a little bit of prior week's tape in addition. I can firmly tell you that Teddy Bridgewater is not regressing. However, I can also firmly tell you with 100% accuracy and confidence that Teddy Bridgewater has not progressed at all from the last game of last season to the last game of this season. He has not progressed at all. There's not one thing that he is doing better at than he was then. Not one. They're all the same. A lot of them are decent, At times, they're great. But generally, at the times they're great, if you watch closely and have an elite football mind, you would recognize that it's not actually due to anything that Teddy's doing. It's usually due to a good play call, that's got an easy opportunity, an open window there, and the receiver making an actual play, running a killer route to get open or making a great catch. It's almost never due to anything that Teddy actually did physically or mentally. And I'm not saying that's really cause for panic. What I'm saying is that might just be how good Teddy is. Teddy might be a mid-level starting quarterback. He might be I don't know who'd be a decent comparison. I mean, not style-wise in any way, but I mean, I'm just trying to think of like a veteran mediocre you can be a winning team and contend for championships with, but he's not going to go to Pro Bowls. Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer, guys like that. People who have game managed, been winners, but they're not the ones making the majority of the plays, to accomplish that. They'll make some timely ones, and they won't do things to hurt their team. And that's, I think, just if Teddy could just accomplish that one feat of, I'm going to eliminate the plays, the errors that he makes that hurt the team. If he could just do that, I don't think he needs to do anything more, on anything else. Just eliminate all the errors you're making that are hurting the team, because there's a lot of them in every game, and a lot of times it's the same type of one. It's week after week after week. So we're not giving up on Teddy. We're not, calling for a new quarterback or anything like that. But we are questioning and re-evaluating our expectations on Teddy's potential and what he can actually become as far as a quarterback in the NFL. All right, so that is the end of our Purple Vein segment. Actually, no, it is not. We've got just a little bit left. Excuse me now. This coming Sunday, the Vikings at noon go to Detroit to take on the Detroit Lions, who we already beat once fairly handedly. The keys to that game, other than being at home, and having the atmosphere always in our favor, was that we caused turnovers. Defensively, we got after Stafford big time all game. Hopefully Everson Griffin will be back from his illness, which I believe he should. Vikings are fairly healthy. Detroit just got their first win last week, so they are feeling a little confident and a little good. We can't let that continue. I think, first quarter setting the tone of this game on both sides of the ball for the Vikes is going to be important. If they can set the tone defensively in the first quarter that we're going to get after Stafford and we're going to hit everybody hard, and it's going to be same type of time that it was the last time, that alone should pretty much win the game for them. But then, in addition, the Vikings need to come out and do the one thing that they failed to do well offensively. Really, the only thing as a team that they failed to do well offensively last Sunday against Kansas City, and that is score points for the frickin' yards that you're moving the ball. Having these first downs, having time of possession, having passing yards, having rushing yards, all that stuff is great and fine, but it means nothing without points behind it. Especially touchdowns. The Vikings, they've gotten better, especially now that Walsh seems to be, himself again, or what we hope and think he is, at least anyway, here in Minnesota. They're doing a decent job of getting the field goals when they get into field goal range, but we need to do a better job of getting touchdowns when we're in touchdown range. You know what I'm saying? And then when we gotta go the entire length of the field, that's when you're going, okay, field goal, 3 points. Dude, we moved the ball 80 yards, we moved the ball 60 yards, and we got 3 points. That's good. You start out with better field position, it's like, wow, we moved the ball 60 yards, we need a touchdown. We got the ball at the 40-yard line. The Vikings they need to do a better job of closing out drives with points, especially touchdowns. That's really all they need to do team-wise, offensively. And that can be as easy as play calling. It can also be an offensive line thing. It can also be a quarterback thing. But anyway, as long as the Vikings, like I said, can continue to move the ball with balance, run and pass,